Hey, everybody, this is Ryan and Greg. We're here with Bench Your Addiction, a podcast about addiction and fitness and things that we like to do that have helped make our lives better. And so today we're going to talk about mindful eating and some tips about that, and just kind of going to be real and conversational and down to the point. And we're just going to get started. So, Greg, what do you think about mindful eating and how are you doing today?
So yeah, it's always fun to be on this thing. Love doing this thing, and uh, these past couple weeks, I'll share like a story. Like these past couple weeks have just been flying by. From the moment I wake up until the moment I lay my head to the pillow, it seems like I've got stuff that I've got going on. Like I'm either on the road, I'm training back-to-back clients, or I'm really trying to take this online membership site and online personal training, online coaching thing off the ground. So it seems like for 6 days a week, it's just running. And like today, the only reason I got to eat today is because my 10 o'clock client canceled, and I haven't been able to eat since. So after we finish this, I've got like a 10-minute window, and then I got to get on the road because I'm running a swim lesson for a friend of mine's daughter, and it's so easy to feel like I'm gonna be late for something. I hate being late for something. I hate that feeling. And so, like for example, when I get off this thing, and I have like it's just granola, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, whatever, and like a little bit of protein powder because I worked out like a hot second earlier today. But mindful eating for me in that moment needs to fit within the time window that I have. And if you only have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes to try to eat, I need to make sure that I'm not trying to swallow the food whole, because it's really easy for me to do. And like for a long time that's how I ate, especially when I got into swim coaching like 10 years ago. And like that's how I ate, and I didn't realize how much stomach discomfort and how much digestion discomfort GI tract discomfort that I had until I started to slow down and actually chew my food, because I did the precision nutrition level one coaching thing, and like one of the biggest sticks that they have is mindful eating, is slowing it down, because digestion begins in your mouth. There's just like enzymes in your saliva and all this stuff that
Yeah.
start to break down different kinds of enzymes, even to break
Yep.
down the different contents of the food that you have in your mouth. And so like I was like, when I started to understand that I was skipping this vital step of digestion, and that my body wasn't just because I was intaking a certain amount of calories and a certain amount of macros and a certain amount of micronutrients, like it didn't mean that my body was actually being like in a position to absorb them, which was where like I was having this GI discomfort, like and like bathroom didn't feel too comfortable. That's about as far as I'll go with that. And like so I started to slow it down, count like where it started. The entry point for me was, I was all right, I'm going to chew every bite of food that I have in my mouth 10 times before I swallow. Turn to 15, turn to 20, just as a test, and like really pay attention to the food that was in my mouth before I swallowed. And what I noticed, not immediately, because nothing really ever happens immediately, but what I noticed in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks is that I didn't feel as bloated. I didn't feel as heavy. I didn't feel as sluggish after I finished eating. So, to tie this back into today, I have 10 minutes to eat. That doesn't mean that I need to go spoonful after spoonful and swallow things whole. It just means that I need to be mindful about the time that I have, chew it, swallow it, and then leave casually. Because if I leave in a rush with food in my stomach, I know that thing's going to sit in my stomach like a freaking rock, and my body won't really get to be able to use it all, really.
Yeah, totally. Like I totally relate to that. I was making a post about this yesterday and talking about this. So my biggest thing is like right now I'm in like a crazy deficit, like the opposite of you, right? I'm in a crazy deficit getting ready for my next show. And I have such little food throughout the day that like I have to pay attention to it, man. Like I make sure I put my phone down. I don't watch TV, but there's no TV or screen on in the background. I'm not looking at my watch. I'm taking the food in and eating every bite so that way I can feel full for at least a few hours until my next meal time. And it really is just really being like that slow and mindfulness. And then for me, like when I have like cravings and stuff, like if I'm eating a snack that like I've been craving all day, I make sure to have these zero distractions because I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to be satiated. I'm gonna try to curb this craving as much as possible, and just really kind of enjoy that and like listen to my body and be like, oh, I think I'm kind of full, right? Like so many times that I just be like distracted and like look down and be like, where'd my food go? And be like, I think I'm still hungry. Like just no recollection of what I'm eating and what I'm doing, and like tons of indigestion, like you're talking about, and inflammation, right? Um, and like another thing too about like listening to your body and being mindful eating is like what you eat and how you feel afterwards. Like I was talking to a client and they're like, man, I've been having really bad indigestion all week. And I was like, what have you been eating that's causing that? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, all right, well then your homework this week is like start paying attention to when the indigestion starts and think back 2 to 3 hours and like what are we doing wrong? Or what are we doing that's causing it? Maybe not wrong, but like what's causing this indigestion, right? I have a theory that they're just eating a ton of bread at the wrong times around workouts and just feeling kind of bloated. And we'll see kind of how that fits with them. But like it's really just being mindful of what you're eating, how you're eating it, and like making sure that that food's nutritious and full and matching your goals, right?
Yeah.
It's and to like bring in like the addiction part of it, right? Like I I, when I got sober, when I stopped using drugs, the addictive behavior didn't go away, right? It just switched to food for a while. I addictively ate food.
Right.
I addictively worked. I addictively did a lot of things. But like, man, did I treat feelings with food? I was like, man, we had a good day. Let's get takeout. Man, I had a shitty day at work. Let's get takeout. Man, I had a mediocre day. Let's get takeout. Like, oh, it's your birthday. Let's get takeout, right? Like, just addictively eating my food, right? And that led to a body I didn't like and a lifestyle I didn't like, and it's like so easy to fall into that trap. And then like with like the food scarcity growing up and stuff, like I always ate quick in case I didn't have food. I remember other friends' parents would like be like, do you eat at home? Because the way I'd eat like at their house would just like eat everything that I could, and like the answer was no, right? And so breaking that habit took forever, man. Like slowing down. And then it was actually really weird yesterday. So I made a post about mindful eating and eating slow, and a friend of mine, she posted that my dad taught her that many years ago about eating mindfully, and like it was really surreal for me because he died this year, and so for her to say that, I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? It was like it just like kind of this full circle moment, and I was like, man, it's crazy, like it, it's weird how life does that to you and kind of comes full circle, and you're like, it just made me more conscious of it and realize that I gotta break that habit and be that influence for my kid that does that same thing, right? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. And just wanted to say sorry for your loss on that, for your father. So it's hard. And
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear your experience with like when you kicked addiction, because not kicked it, obviously it doesn't leave, but in the sense of like you stopped actively participating in the drug portion of it, I guess, if you want to put it that way, drug
Yeah.
alcohol portion of it,
Yeah.
because that's probably a better way to phrase it. And so my experience with like when I was in my addiction, I was working out too much or not working out enough, and like it was just like I was all over the place because I fell prey to this TikTok mindset. I couldn't stay focused on anything. I'd be all over the place, and it was just like I'd try something for a day or a week, and then the next fitness fad, the next person that has abs is completely contradictory of what the thing that I was trying to do. Is like obviously they're right, so let me go over there. And like, but in regard to food specifically, like I got I got clean and sober, and then my relationship with food was I didn't I deprived myself of it hardcore, like because if I'm gonna do this new lifestyle, then I'm gonna have a body that proves it. I'm gonna have a body that, and like I was so misinformed in regard to how to develop muscle, how to expose abs, how to build abs in the first place, to even have something to expose through fat loss and all the other stuff. And so I deprived myself hardcore. I was hungry almost all the time, hungry going to sleep, hungry waking up, and then there would be just like with my alcohol thing, like I would binge. Like the moment that I gave into the temptation, I saw red and I would binge, and like understanding what that, and like no mindfulness around food at all. I just need more. That's all I had. And it's like I'm gonna shovel this shit. I remember getting a giant burrito from Freebirds when it was still here in Vacaville, and I don't even remember eating it. It's like a 2 pound freaking burrito. I don't remember eating it, man. Like I was just off my freaking rocker, hungry, and um so what was interesting, like to kind of flip, because like what got me on track with wanting to pay attention to not only what my body weight was and what my body fat percentage was, but also performance, was strongman. When I signed up for my first strongman competition in 2021, and that's where I really started to understand how much food I needed to put into my body to be able to grow, because we covered this already. 3,000, 3,500, 4,000, 42 didn't prove to be enough. 4,500 was what tipped the scale for me, literally. And
Crazy.
but I tell you what, when you try to eat like that, try to eat when you already feel like you had Thanksgiving dinner. And that's what I felt like. That's what I felt like almost all the time, because I was constantly full. I was never not full, and which is why people think it's so crazy when I say it's actually nice to feel hungry. Not that I want to stay that way, but like I'm hungry right now. I feel fine. I feel good. Like I know that hunger ain't gonna kill me. And so, but for me to be able to even get that much food down, I was forced to eat mindfully, because at any moment I felt like I was gonna throw up. And I was sitting there. It would be 9 o'clock at night. I'm waking up at 3:30 the next morning. I still have about 1,000 calories sitting in a bowl of
Brutal.
ground beef, chicken, rice, whatever, vegetables. Like I still have like 1,000 calories left in front of me, and I would stay there, and it would take me about an hour to eat that 1,000 calories, which means I wasn't laying down into bed until like 10:15. There's no freaking way I fell
With
asleep,
a
because I
full
was so
stomach. Yeah.
uncomfortable,
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. So like it takes me 30, 45 minutes to go to sleep, and I made the sacrifice to sleep. That we can talk about that later, but I don't like in that moment. That's what I had to do. And so for the your story is that you wanted to lose weight in order to take control of your body. I wanted to gain weight in order to take control of my body, in a sense. And in both in both situations, like, you wanted to eat mindfully because you wanted to enjoy it, you wanted to curb the craving, you wanted to I had to eat mindfully so that I could even get the food down. And so, and I'm not alone. There's plenty of skinny guys that have talked to me like, how do you gain weight? It's like you eat until you're uncomfortable, and then you keep eating. But
Yeah.
the
I
only
always
way I
tell
could do
people.
that, go ahead.
I always tell people it's way harder to gain weight than it is to lose weight. Losing weight is just not eating. Gaining weight is like, man, like if you're a hard gainer, it's like such a difficult thing, you know?
Yeah, I can definitely attest to how freaking difficult it is, man.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and like I went through periods of it too. Like when I used to power lift, like we would go through bulking stages. It wasn't as much as you, but like getting ready for powerlifting, we would definitely eat a bunch and get ready for it. What's your favorite strongman event?
Carrying
Carries?
events.
Like
Yeah.
yokes or
So
just like farmers?
yokes. I don't. I actually like. I've got video footage of like my first strongman. There was a medley. So there were,
Uh-huh.
and it was a car themed strongman show. And like there was a car show out there too. Hot Dogs Nights up in Sac.
Nice.
And so they had this. They had 6 pieces of automobile equipment. I'll just put it that way, like machinery. They had a chassis, they had a drum, they had whatever they had, and a jack, like a car jack, like industry standard, what you would find to actually take a car up off the wheels, and like you had to carry that stuff and load it. Love that kind of event. My second competition, we had stones, so natural stones. They weren't Atlas stones, so they had
Yeah.
there was a 180-pound stone, 190-pound stone, and then they didn't have anything in the middle. So the next stone was 250 pounds. You had to pick it up and carry it. I think it was 20 feet, and load it up onto a 3-foot platform,
That's
4-foot
intense,
platform.
man.
Sorry, 4-foot
That's
platform.
intense.
And
Ooh,
then this
4 foot's hard.
past this past competition was a sandbag carry medley plus truck drag. So I had a sandbag at 220, a sandbag at 260. What you had to do is pick up you could pick one, either or. You start however you want. This is where strategy came in. But like you pick up either or, but you carry it across, you load it in the back of a pickup truck, you go grab the other one, load it up, and then you grab these handles and you drag the truck back. And like any type of moving events, I'm really solid at, because like farm boy growing up, man, I born and bred to carry things. I'm a pack mule. Static strength ain't there, and years of swimming have really didn't do anything for my pressing strength, I'll tell you that much. So favorite carrying stuff, like I just want to carry shit for some reason. And then least favorite is they had an axle bar clean and press, 225 pounds. You try to like knockout round, you go in, yeah, like you had to do that weird intercontinental clean technique, and I hate that stuff, man. I do it, but like it's not why I showed up.
Yeah, not your strong point. Yeah,
not my strong point. I'm working on it, but like not my strong point.
Awesome. Like, so I like that, like on both ends of the spectrum, mindful eating is super important, right? Whether you're gaining, whether you're losing, right? Like mindful eating is where it's at, right? Like I think we get really detached as a society right now, especially with social media and like our phones and our watches and like all these other distractions, right? When like really we should be mindful and paying attention and like conscious and like, in the moment. And it's really hard, man. Food just becomes like part of your day, and then that's how you end up with these like endless snacking. And you look down, the bag of chips is gone. You're like, what did I do? You know what I mean? And
right.
But if you're bulking, that's great. But
yeah, but I mean, I think it comes down to a matter of priority. Like priority is the one thing. Like if you look at the root of the word, we can get geeky in the language sense of it. Like priority is one thing, right? And it's in its most original form, like its Latin root. And so when we mean to like I understand that to mean like with prioritize, it means what is the one thing I need to do right now. And my dad used to have this saying, and I carry it. I don't say it all the time, but it sticks in my head sometimes, and it makes me chuckle. Is like, don't half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. So, like, don't split the like it just being like, don't split your attention, because it makes you like you might be multitasking and you might be pushing progress on two different tasks, but at the cost of efficiency, at the cost of something. Like we're not designed to be doing two, like we can focus on two different things at once. And that's it, because like if you're a hunter gatherer, you've got to be able to focus on the animal, and then you've got to be able to focus on where your body is. So like your brain is capable of focusing on two different things. It doesn't mean that it can task two different things very well. And so pick one. And so when I'm eating, I have two geographic locations. Like one place in the gym is where I eat, one place in the gym is where I pull my laptop open and I work. And I anchor that spot. Like when I'm sitting at the table in the break room, I'm eating, and I might have some mindless like YouTube video going off in the background that goes against your point, but like this is just my truth. Like, but I've anchored that spot. Like this is what I'm doing when I'm in this spot. So that, because like I realized what I was doing is when I would sit in the same spot as I was eating or as I was trying to work, that I'd be trying to work and I couldn't focus on work. I was thinking about what I was going to eat next, and or like I was trying to eat and I was like I still have the laptop open and I'm trying to get work done, and then like what we just talked about, you look down, the food's gone, what the hell happened? And then my stomach hurts. Damn it. So like it's what like one of the interventions that I suggest to people is like, especially if they find themselves in a really, really busy work situation, don't eat in your office. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Stop doing that. Like even if you've only got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes to step away from your office, don't eat at your desk. Stop it. Because your brain is like, you can anchor environments to tasks or to things that you do, right? So that your brain sets in routine, is like, okay, I'm here. This is what my environment looks like. This is what I'm doing. So like when I did that for myself, my work efficiency went up. I was eating more mindfully, and I was not experiencing as much GI distress or indigestion, if you want to call it that. And like I was like, so by partitioning my life into different areas intentionally with intention, I could prioritize food, and then when I was done with food, I could be done with food, and then I can go prioritize work, and then then I can work and not think about food. And in that way, I keep those things separate from each other, and it makes it, when they're separate from each other, for me, it's been a lot easier, and for my clients, it's been a lot easier to mindfully eat.
I agree. I think you should, whatever you're going to do, one thing is what you should do everything, right? Like I had the same exact conversation a lot about sleep. People are like in their bedrooms doing activities, watching TV, doing all those other things. I'm like, that should be where you sleep, right? Like you should go to your bedroom to sleep, right? You should go to your kitchen table or wherever you're going to eat to eat. You should work out where you're going to work out, right? Like, for me, it's, even though I have this own gym here, I don't work out here because I just end up working. And like, I know that about myself. Anytime I come here to work out, I end up on my computer working because I'm here, right? So I go
Right.
to another gym, right? And it's the same concept, right? I have the same chair I sit in at the top of the kitchen table, which is funny because now I see my kid doing it. He's picked his chair. I put his food out this morning. He's like, "That's the wrong chair." I was like, "Okay," you know what I mean? And it's funny how those things pass on, but it's what you do. Like the mind is really amazing at habits. It wants to break everything down into like these thoughtless habits because that's how it saves energy and saves efficiency, right? If you
Right.
go to Atomic Habits, it talks all about that. But I really like that point about just being like, this is where I eat, this is where I work. Don't eat in your office, right? You know, it's going to help, right? It's going to also prevent snacking, right? And that's like that same thing about people mindlessly snacking in front of the TV. It's because they eat there, so they just sit there and eat, and anytime they go to sit down and relax, they're like, I should be eating right now, right? And that's how they think about it. And like that mindfulness and intuitive around it. I had a client this morning tell me that they went to get ice cream because it was nighttime, and they went to get ice cream, and then like they thought about it before they started eating it. They're like, I don't actually want ice cream. I just am habitually grabbing it because it's nighttime and we're watching a movie. And they put it back and didn't eat it. I was like, that's a great win, man. Like,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I did, like, in regard to that, my own personal experience. Like, I did a 3-day water fast a couple years ago, where for 72 hours I just decided that I was going to drink water. Uh, had to change my lifestyle for a second. Workout intensity came down, all the things, whatever. And but I found it, the first day was pretty difficult in regard to hunger pains, but the second day I didn't have any. I just drank water and I was good. At the end of the day, though, without even realizing what I was doing, I walked to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator, and I don't remember what it was that snapped me into remembering I had decided to do a 72-hour water fast, and like, it's not time to eat yet. Like, I have 24 hours before I'm supposed to eat again, if not 36. Like, so when oh shit, like, I'm just here because it's the time that I usually eat, but I'm not doing that today. I closed the refrigerator and I went back into my room and did whatever I did, reading, whatever, and went to sleep. But for sure, like, it's really, it's simple, but it's not easy,
Yes.
because the brain, like, understanding like brain psychology and how it operates and how it functions. What you talked about, your point, your brain wants, like, it craves habit, it craves routine. And like your son wanting to sit at the same chair at the kitchen table, it craves routine. And if you and you don't believe me, try to change your habits. Like, try to change your day on its head. Like, if you go on a walk at the end of the day, start it at like, do your walk in the beginning of the day. Like, don't change anything you do, but change the order that you do it, and see how much of a curveball that is in your life, because it's not routine. Oh shit, I'm not used to doing this right now. And so um the entry point was not even mindful eating for me. Like, to practice mindfulness, but like, practicing mindfulness came under a barbell, and then it extended into other areas of my life. And so like, one of the points is, like, mindful eating is a great habit to try to build. But one thing, like with my clients, it's not always the best place to start, but we do get there. Like, we do get there. Like, I just, but like, this is where, like, having a coach or having like a questionnaire that you can fill out, and like, what does your day look like right now? What are your habits already? And like, what's the lowest hanging fruit? I always taught, like, I don't say that phrase, but the concept is, what is the lowest hanging fruit? What is the easiest thing that we can go after changing? Right. And sometimes, like what I talked about in a previous episode, was water by your bedside or in your sink.
Yep.
And like,
Yep.
we get to those other habits. So you talked about with your practice, some homework assignment is track your food for the day. I mean, not for the day, for the week. But it's not trying to eat mindfully yet, but
Or change,
like
or even change
understanding,
it. It's just
or even
track
change
it.
anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so, because you need to understand where you're at, you need to understand what you're doing, and like take the time to understand what you're doing in the first place. And if that is something that you want to try, the mindful eating, if that's what you're something that's something that you're ready to try, then like I said, my entry point into eating mindfully was dedicate. All right, I'm going to like every bite that I take, 10 chews, 10 bites in my mouth before I swallow it. And like I challenged myself, and man, I tell you what, like counting to 10, I can't count, man. Like you ask any one of my clients, I struggle counting their reps, because most, like, this is a different topic entirely. I don't care most so much about reps, man. I care about
About
effort.
failure. Yeah.
Yeah, I care about proximity to failure, but like I struggle with counting. And so I was sitting there trying to chew, and like the hardest part of me trying to count to 10, or like count out the number of bites, it was counting. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4. What number was that? And then like squirrel, and then I'm thinking, it was like, all right, I gotta go back to work. Oh shit, what number was that?
Yeah. That's a great mindful tip. Counting the numbers, right? That's awesome, man. And like what you talk about, like building those like little wins, right? Like the first habits that we start, like as we build self-esteem and self-confidence, we just like do these things over and over again. You're like, oh, I can drink water every morning. You know what I mean? Like I can, I do hit the gym regularly. I do bench correctly. I do all these other little habits that are going to lead to like, okay, cool, let's tackle mindful eating. Let's tackle this next one. Let's tackle this next one. Then all of a sudden you look back and you've got like 20, 30 healthy habits that you didn't have when you started this fitness journey. And you're like, wow, it's great. Like I didn't
Yeah,
get to this point in day one. It's like, it's been 6, 7 years of habits.
right. And it's like, if there's one thing, I heard this off of a previous mentor that I had, Ben Pekulski. So shout out to him. Is like I heard him say in one of his podcasts, like we need to get rid of this abs in 7 minutes mindset. Like pull up a YouTube video and you can get abs in
Yep.
7 minutes, or you can be bikini ready by summer, even though summer started 5 weeks ago or whatever. It's not abs in 7 minutes; it's abs in 7 years. And like if you can, like, 7 years, people see that and it's so freaking daunting. But like I hate to break it to you, 7 years from now, it will still be 7 years from now, regardless of what you do today. And so, like, wouldn't you want to do something like, rather than that short-term intervention that you're going to fizzle out on, like every other New Year's resolutioner, like in 7 years, wouldn't you rather have a guaranteed result rather than a shot in the dark of like whether or not you can actually stick to it? I want to go with pretty much the thing that's a guaranteed result. Like you start to stack these habits, your body will change. Maybe, and
Yep.
it never changes at the rate you want it to change, but it
Nope.
changes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That was a big changing point for me too. Like I know the physique that I want to get to, and I knew that when I decided that, it was a 10-year journey. I was like, cool, it'll take me 10 years to get to that physique that I want with the leanness at the right muscle amount. And I accepted that,
Yeah.
right?
So I love that you said 10 years, because I did my first strongman competition and I dedicated to, in my head I was like, I'm going to do this sport for at least 10 years. We'll reevaluate as I get closer to 40, but like I knew in my
Same.
heart I was going to do this sport for at least 10 years and see what I could do with it, because like I've never done the strength training in my life, really, not consistently, anything like that, powerlifting. I was like, in order for me to get even an inkling of an idea of what my body's truly capable of outputting, I need to put 10 years into it.
Yep. Yeah. I think I decided at 40 I'll reevaluate bodybuilding too. I was like, oh, let's do that. And then my coach this
Yeah.
year, he was like, you really is going to take like 10 shows under your belt before you really have an opinion on shows. And I've been doing like one a year. He's like, you probably should do more a year, but it's going to take 10 shows before you even have an opinion. And I was like, it's that same mindset of like, how long is it going to take to like really have like opinions on these things, right?
How many
So I
shows have
do
you
one.
done?
This will be my second show, and we'll probably
Okay.
do a third show this year. So
Okay.
yeah,
Dope.
yeah. So that's where I'm at. All right,
Sweet.
man. So that's about 30 minutes. Next week, we're going to start talking about habits. We're going to move right back into habits, keep up with the same mindset. So we're going to go from mindfulness to habits and how to get there, right? People like to tell you, oh, change a habit in 21 days, but data shows it's actually 264 days. So we'll talk more about that next week. Anything else you got for me?
Nah, man, that's it. I think we covered it pretty well today.
Awesome. All right, everybody. See you all next week with Bench Your Addiction.
See you.